Hi, I'm Jason Briefs from Axminster Tools. Welcome to another Workshop Wednesday. Today we're going to look at sharpening. Okay, basic woodwork hand tools. If you think of your hand planes, your chisels, drawer knives, spoke shapes, all those sort of things. We've got a collection here on the bench. Got to be sharp. Okay, and that's a weird and wonderful thing. What is sharpness? It is the accurate coming together of two ground points. So any hand plane blade or anything that you've got, you got cutting edge, primary bevel, get the back point, 2 points that come together. You've got to get them nice and sharp. Now, in the coming weeks, we're going to look at different systems that you could use we've got on the bench here. Today is a brief look at what is available. When I started and I went off to college to do a course, at that point, oil stones, okay? Waterstones were just coming in. Things have developed a lot more in the years, so we're going to kind of have a look at some of those systems, what's there, explain them a little bit. And then, like I say, in the coming videos, we're going to take each one, break it down just a little bit more for you, give you a bit more info, try and get you to understand what they're going to do. So, on the bench here, we've got a whole collection of different things. If you walked into one of the stores, you go through the catalogue, look online, I bet you kind of go, oh, what do I want? So much stuff in here, so it's really difficult to get an idea of. And we tried to keep it to a minimum on the bench. I could pile things up a bit more and it'd be even more confusing. So, try and break it down so you can see what is there. So we've got Ben who's operating the camera with us this afternoon, so he's going to give us a bit of a hand. So first thing we're going to look at, we're going to get you in a little bit nearer, we're going to look at the oil stone, okay? So we have our oil stone, okay? Now, oil stones and then the next part here, water stones, they're both made up of similar things. They're made up of natural rock crystals, if you like, okay? These can be broken down. I'm not going to go into the crystal terminology, but the easiest way we can understand these, and most woodworkers will understand this, is silicon carbide and aluminium oxide. That's the two basic materials in either of these piles of stones. You can get natural stone or both, but you need a mortgage. It's getting expensive, okay? You can get Arkansas oil stones. They're becoming really expensive, sadly. So modern day stones tend to be bonded. So this is an India style stone as an oil stone. So this has a resin bonder which is holding those particles together. The colours on here have an orange and a brown. They give you an idea of what grade it is. So this has two grades, finer, coarser. And that's a bad way of phrasing it in ways, but actually that's what they tend to do with oil stones. It has a medium coarse, fine coarse. So you need to look at what you're buying a bit carefully, okay? Now, oil stones, when I went to college, I was packed up with some oil stones and it became apparent why when I got there, because they were hollow. That way and this way, heavily worn. The other problem with oil stones, that you need something to lubricate them. The lubricator actually rinses out the metal particle that you're cutting off. So therefore you need something, alright? My dislike with oil stones, they're messy. Okay, so you've only got to do it once or twice. You've sharpened something, you take it back, you start cutting the piece of wood, and you get the oil residue that you haven't cleaned off onto your wood particles. You don't get it off, and therefore it shows when you put your finishing on. So oil stones, I don't know, there's still quite a lot of out there. A lot of you have probably got them. Try and look at them a little bit. We'll show you how you can flatten those as we go on in the weeks. So get your oil stone. Water stones, next pile along. Need thinking about, again, what are you buying? As we said with your oil stone, you get a grade system. On water stones, a bit more defined. Coarsest I can give you is a 240 grit. The maximum I go up to, if you really want to get into this, 10,000 grit. So a bit like abrasive paper, the higher the number, the finer the grade. Other thing we're looking into this, there isn't one grading system that you could use across all the sharpening stuff. That would make it easy. So Japanese waterstones are graded on how many silk threads there are to make up a mesh of a certain size. So 10,000 silk threads is one size, 240 would obviously be a lot coarser. Again, you can have natural stone, but getting expensive. So the stones you tend to get today are manufactured. They have a resin bonder. If you look into the terminology a little bit more, we'll go back to the oil stone briefly. This is quite hard rock. Okay, it's a weird way of phrasing it. If you looked at Waterstones, people would class these as soft. When we do the thing in a few weeks, you'll see the aspect of what I mean by soft. I can cut the stone with a chisel if I push the wrong direction. So want to try and make sure that you understand the fact of where the soft comes from. Part of the soft is the resin bonder they use. It is designed to wear away. By wearing away, it relieves a new particle, so it's constantly cutting. So in reality, a Waterstone is quicker cutting than pretty much anything else I've got on the bench. It also relieves the fresh particles, so it keeps it cutting. Most things, once it starts to get blunt, done. Oil stone will start to glaze over. I need to clean it up, clean the surface, level it back. Waterstones, you still need to keep them flat and keep them level, but they're actually self-cutting or self-leveling, give you a new particle to cut on. Okay, so your Waterstones get lots of different things. Now, again, we can have, as we did with the oil stone, combination stone. Right, so we've got our two colours. I think you can probably see that there on the camera. So, as we said, you get a coarse fine, okay, worth looking at. When I started, these were becoming quite popular. So this is a combination stone. These were actually made for the UK or European market, let's phrase it that way. So when these first started coming in, they were done flat. They were same size, okay? Now, dislike with this sort of thing, hopefully Ben's following where we are. We've got our plain blade. 4.5, 5.5. Look at the width of the blade compared to the stone. You're constantly almost trying to move across it to get total coverage. So combination stones can work. They work for quite a few years. They will cut your stuff, but I always find them a bit narrow. As things have developed, you'll find that there are stones that are coming in that are wider, so bigger. Okay, that's really worth looking into. So you can get the whole of the blade on there in one easy go. So we've got separates, 6,000, 1,200 grit. So if I'm going to sharpen something again, we do a couple of weeks time, I'd start with an 8 or 1,200, finish off on a 6,000. The higher the grit, the finer the cutting edge will produce, the longer it will last, the sharper it is. So those things come into that. We've got combination stones. So this one is 6,000, 1,000 grit. Again, nice and wide. Waterstones, where do they get the name from? They need to be kept wet in water. So how wet? It's one of those questions I get with the courses. How wet do you actually need to keep them? Normally I would soak these in water and leave them in here. The room we've got here doesn't freeze, so haven't got that risk if you're going to crack the stones. A polishing stone, finer grit, 6 to 10,000 grit. You want to soak 10 minutes before you're going to use it. Other stones, again, sort of the same sort of aspects. So the coarser grit, 240 up to 1,200, need to soak them. When you put them in water, they will absorb the water. You get little bubbles come off it. Good 5 minutes before is great. A clip-on lunchbox with a lid that's got a rubber seal on it works really nicely. Okay, so we've got different stones that will do different things there, different grades, but worth looking at things like the width. Okay, that's something to consider, and the grade. Again, as we go up, we're going to see how that affects it. Next pile then, let's see if we can get Ben to pan round just a little bit. Okay, diamond stones. Bit more modern. Now, diamond stones, you get two types of diamond, and it is worth looking into this a little bit. You get monocrystal or polycrystal, okay? The monocrystal doesn't tend to last as well, all right? The polycrystal, from memory, works a little bit better, but it's difficult to find out that information. Different types of stone, widths and everything else will play a part. So when I first started, these are DMT ones. They were colour coded to give you a grade. Black being coarser, blue being finer, they had a red and a green. Dislike with these a little bit, and they have developed and changed. This is the same manufacturer, was all the little holes tended to catch, especially on the sharp corners that you're trying to develop. So the plastic holes didn't always help. So they've tended to go now to solid steel plates or something as a solid backing plate. So these also need something as a lubricant. So you can have something as a lapping fluid. That helps rinse out that particle, keep the stone cleaner, flush off that metal that you're getting rid of, okay? So that's quite an important part. You need something to flush it. Even with this, if we do, gonna be a bit of a while with it. See if I can get this open. I'm gonna cheat. Okay. So I want a little bit just to rinse on the stone. hopefully you can see the colour changing. So that will just clean off the surface of what we've actually been cutting. Clean that out, okay? So that gets rid of that metal particle that we're actually cutting. Really good to do, something that will flush it off. Worth at the end of it using any of the stones to try and clean up a little bit, okay? So diamonds, as we said, you've gone from plastic backers. This one is double-sided, has a magnet base, all right? We have a fine, extra fine, much bigger size as well, bigger length, even compared to the Waterstones, nicer width. You can have double-sided. Now again, everything is graded on a number, so 400, 1000. The higher the number, the finer the stone. The little ridges in here are designed to try and flush away that material that you're cutting off, give it access to get away from the actual cutting tool. So your diamond stones come a long way. Now the nice thing with diamond stone over the other two piles you already looked at, they stay flat. Normally a waterstone or an oil stone will wear as you're working it. Waterstones will wear quicker than an oil. Diamond stones, yes, they stay flat. So that's something that's a real benefit. Slower cutting, don't go as fine. So you won't get the same polish you can get off a waterstone or an oil. You can use a diamond stone. You can use a combination. So you could use a diamond stone and then go to a water. That's possible, okay? So we've got different grits. Other new things that have really started coming in, and this is leading along the bench again. So I'm going to move a few things just to get them out of the way. So we're going to go up to this end. Ben's going to pan round a little bit so we can have a look. Okay, so next thing you get is things called scary sharpening. Okay, so we have different types of things. So scary sharpening, what is that? It goes against everything that I would actually do when I was at college. We used abrasive paper, you sand with it. Once you've sanded the piece of wood, you never went back and cut it again with your chisel, your hand plane. So once sanded, you didn't go back because you leave abrasive particles behind. To actually sharpen a cutting tool on abrasive paper would be a no-no. Oh wow. So over the years things have really developed. So we've got different types of things here. Now if you want something coarser, you might want something as some normal abrasive. So this is a 150 grit. I prefer a cloth back. I can use a spray melt type glue, stick it down. We need something stable as a substrate to stick it onto. So you can have glass, maybe granite block, something a lot harder, okay? A lot thicker. So glass can be nice, but it's got to be thick enough to take, all right? Stop it flexing. So we have our 150 grit. Other thing you can have on here, these are a stick down blue abrasive. We will cover this in a few weeks time. Silver adhesive. So I can cut it off, stick it down. 800, 2,500. So there is the options of different things. Now, downside with this, especially on the coarser grade like this, doesn't last as well as something like a diamond. But it's easy to peel on and off, put a new bit down. The blue paper, that lasts really well. Okay, so that will actually hold its edge quite well. Move that along. We said about our glass. Now the other thing we said about diamond plates, these are stick down. So we have a peel off backing. We can stick it onto something, so I've got them on the granite block, we use them on, 3 different grades, they're stick on. Again, we've got a bit of a pattern on here, try and flush out the particles. You need something as a lubricant, so again, to go with a lapping fluid. Newer ones that are coming in, better quality crystals, quite an amazing texture. Now this is, from memory, 140 grit, really coarse. This is actually used for, if you like, my bench grinder purpose. Getting rid of any damage or chips on the surface of the chisel. I don't know if I bring that up a bit more, if you can kind of see. It's not going to look much of a texture, but okay. Now this is a bit weird because you can buy this as a separate plate, and we'll show you this in a couple of weeks. An aluminium backer. So I'll bond the two together. The aluminium is dead flat, gives you a nice flat surface to work with. Occasionally I will use this as a levelling stone for, say, Waterstones. But again, when we do that in a couple of weeks, we'll show you how we can level your Waterstones, what's available, different things. So a lot coarser than anything else I've got on here. It will also last longer than normal abrasive. So if you're using something where you want to get rid of the chips or damage, good way of going, something coarser. Look at that, how it's going to last. As we said, granite block, diamond plates, there are options. Now the other nice thing with things like the diamond plates, or even the blue paper, if you like, normal abrasive. Now cloth back is better to peel on and off of something, bit the glass. I say something because you can actually bond it to a shape. So again, we can show you that in a few weeks. We're going to set some bonded shapes up. I have one regularly in here which I sharpen the inside of the draw knives with. So by having those shapes pre-done, I can bond that one, or the abrasive, or the blue. So there's different things there that we can use. Now it's quite a brief look at what you've got. So oil stones, water, diamond, or scary sharpening. I'm going to just leave it as scary sharpening because obviously you've got abrasive, you've got diamonds. There's 3 or 4 different things you can bond down. Okay, so hopefully you've enjoyed this. We'll get Ben just to drop back a little bit. Okay, so coming few weeks we're going to look at oil stones a bit more in depth. I'm going to show you how you can level some. I've managed to find some old ones, which they're not mine, which gives you an idea. Waterstones, we're going to go over those, how we can level those, what they do, what you will achieve with a waterstone. Diamond, okay, go through that. Again, different grades, there's certain benefits to diamond. And then we'll look at scary sharpening. The major thing with this, you've got to feel comfortable with what you're going to sharpen with. You're trying to get back to a nice sharp cutting edge quickly and easily. Within those videos coming up, using this stuff, we're also going to look at some of the honing guides or setup bits because freehand sharpening is tricky to do. Sharpening is a bit of a chore, and we'll break it down nice and easy. So you've got to look at different things that are there. Okay. Hopefully this has helped a little bit. Thanks very much. We'll see you next week, 4 p.m.